to Tête-a-Tech. Today, we welcome Gustavo Moura, a Brazilian engineer who lives in Santa Clara, here in the heart of Silicon Valley, and he is the Director of Engineering at Snap. Thank you so much for joining us, Gustavo.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for making my afternoon a little less boring now that I'm stuck at home.
Great. Gustavo, let's start learning a bit about your professional journey. Tell us how a Carioca ended up in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so I moved to the United States back in 1999 with my family. I actually went to high school in the United States for a couple of years. I finished school here, and then I went to college in Virginia Tech. Even in 1999, at the time, they would teach computer science classes in high school here. So I took a computer science class, really enjoyed it, so decided I'd study that in college. So yeah, so I decided computer science in college. I really enjoyed how quickly you could, build something and have people use it. I did an undergrad at Virginia Tech. I did a master's at UCLA. And in the middle of my master's, I did an internship at Google. I really enjoyed, working at Google. So after school, I went there, spent 9 years at Google. Late 2016, I got excited about an opportunity at Snap. So I left Google after 9 years, went to Snap, and have been there ever since. It's been 3.5 years now.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about your role at Snap. You are Director of Engineering. I understand you were involved in fixing some of the problems that Snap had in Android. How was to lead that process, Gustavo?
Yeah, so when I joined Snap, I wasn't really sure what I was going to be working on. I just wanted to, help in any way I could. I spent 6 months working on the company, launching some new features on our Android app. And then at the time, I realized that the Android app had a lot of problems, a lot of performance issues. It was hard to use it even on top-of-line devices, the type of devices people would spend $600, $700 on at Christmas time. The app would be slow. So me and a couple other people in my office spoke up and said, hey, we think we have a possible solution to this problem, but to fix it, we have to rewrite the app from scratch. And it was kind of a tough sell, but we built a prototype. The prototype was very successful in kind of proving our points. I remember we met with our CEO and we showed him our prototype, and he loaded the app and said, wow, it's very fast. But then he told us, well, now show me this app running on a Nexus 5X. Nexus 5X was like the average device at the time. And then we told him, oh, that is a Nexus 5X. So he got very impressed and said, okay, go ahead, do it. So we spent about a year rewriting the app and launching a new version of it, which is like a little over a year now since we did that.
And how is it working now?
It's working really well. Our Android performance is pretty good. I think it's I use a lot of apps, and only a very few can load faster than Snapchat can. And our growth in Android has been really good ever since we released our new app. So as part of that, I had to build a team. I had to, get a structure together, and now I lead what we call the app platform team, which is a team that worries about the architecture of the app. How can we get an app that has so many features that does so much and have it be fast and have all these features play well together?
Tell us a little bit about how was this process. Was there any friction between the engineering and design teams? I guess I would love for you to give us a sense about what is like Snap's culture and some of the reasons why it was ranked the most innovative company of the year.
Yeah, so yes, there was a bit of friction, but Snap works in a way that's slightly different from some of the other tech companies, where you really have the engineering team worrying about engineering, how should products be built, and the product team worrying about the product, right? Like what should we build and how? And when I say product, there's really design that worries about the experience, and then there's the actual product team that worries about what are we building, right? Like how do we prioritize? So yes, there was a little bit of friction at first when we told everyone that we had to rewrite the app. That of course involves pausing development, right? So when I say you have to rewrite the app, what I'm actually saying is that for 6 months or maybe longer, we're not going to ship any new features on Android. We can ship them on iOS, but right, like we can't do that on Android because we'll be rewriting the app. And of course, that's a very risky thing to do. I think how you overcome that is with trust, right? Like when you're very open, when you communicate, when you show both your strengths and your weaknesses, then you can start to build trust, and the product team, the design team can start to trust you. And as you start to deliver on what you've promised, then you can earn that trust, and you can use it to say, hey, we should slow down here. We cannot launch this fast. This is not the right thing to do from the engineering side. So I think that's how you overcome that, right?
And Gustavo, tell us a little bit about the innovation process in the company, and some of the reasons that why Snap was ranked the most innovative company in 2020 by Fast Company.
Yeah, so I think what I said kind of goes a little bit into that. I think we were ranked as the most innovative company in part because of because the year 2019 was a comeback story for us, right? Like we started growing our user base quite fast. We started shipping a lot of new features. We started seeing the results of a lot of efforts that we did before that to kind of pay back our technical debts and set our organization up for success in the future. And a lot of that became materialized in 2019. One thing that's not special, but different about Snap is that our main asset is innovation, right? You look at some other companies, they may have very good technical infrastructure. They may be very good at measuring metrics and iterating on metrics. They may be very good at solving some very tough engineering problems. Snap is really good at product, right? We build very interesting products. We innovate a lot. We build things that other people may not be thinking of building, or they may do it in a slightly different way. And we are able to, because we really understand what our product is, we are able to a lot of times have different ideas. And like the company lives or dies based on how fast we innovate and how well we do it, right? So we take it very seriously.
And talking about usage, Gustavo, as coronavirus forces social isolation, internet traffic and streaming services are surging across the globe. Tell us about how this impacted the usage in Snap.
Yeah, it's hard to be happy about it, but our usage has grown, right? We have our app is built for people to communicate with each other. It's built for people to feel like they're right next to each other when they watch, a Snap, they watch a story. So when people are apart and forced to be apart, it becomes a very powerful tool, right? And it is a product that fortunately can help people at this time. So we have seen engagement growth. In particular, things like video calling. It has grown tremendously. Groups and group communication has grown tremendously because people are apart now, right? And they want to feel like they're together. Yeah. So I think that's what our product is kind of built for. And hopefully we can help people feel a little less alone at this time. But yeah, usage has grown. I think that's true for almost any of the big technology companies, right? Like that live online. But we're trying to do what we can, and we're doing things like adding informational content so that people can get news about the virus and the spread that's not biased in any way, right? It's just raw footage or raw information. We try to do awareness, so we have filters and stickers that teach people the importance of washing their hands, staying inside, not touching their face, social distancing, and so forth, right? Trying to build sort of a sense of community around it because we're all in this together right now.
And could you break down the users a little bit? What are the usage in Brazil, for example, versus the United States?
Right. So I don't think we break down our usage in Brazil, but we have, in general, our user population is very young. For instance, in the United States, between 13 and 24-year-olds, 90% use Snapchat. And we believe that the reason is that young users have grown up in a different world than we grew up in, right? When we see a phone or a computer, we're still thinking, oh, I'm going to get a keyboard and I'm going to type a message, right? Meanwhile, young people, they realize that why would you do that? It makes no sense to type a message when you can just record the video, right? When you have a camera that faces the world, a camera that faces yourself, and you can convey so much information so quickly. So I think young users, they see Snap and they tend to get it, and they tend to understand how to use the product very well. Whereas people that have different backgrounds, they have to kind of relearn it. So we're very powerful with young users. We're also an app that's very media intensive, right? We can also be used for sending chat. We can be used for sending photos. But where Snap really shines is when you're using it for video and sending video back and forth. Of course, that's a challenge in Brazil because the network infrastructure is not as good as it is in the United States, right? I remember going to vacation in Brazil and saying, hey guys, I'm connected to Wi-Fi and I cannot use the app. It's very, very slow. What's happening? And then we looked in the code and we said, oh yeah, because you're on Wi-Fi, we have this logic that makes the video quality higher. And I had to remind people that this is crazy. Wi-Fi in Brazil, at least at the time, is worse than 4G in the United States, right? Like a lot of Wi-Fi in Brazil is someone goes to a shopping mall and they go to a restaurant and they don't want to use the data plan, so they ask the waiter, what is the Wi-Fi password, right? So it's not a good connection in any sense, but it's a challenging, right? Like we have to. One of the things that we're doing is we're trying to make our app work really, really, really well on low network connections. Brazilian users know, right? Like they know that they should use photos and not videos, in this time, unless they're at home. They will save video content to watch later, but it kind of breaks the communication aspect because now you're watching content that's stale. So Brazil is a challenge for us. On the positive though, Brazilian users are very innovative. They're very creative. They love communicating, right? Like people will spend the whole day chatting if you let them. So our product, we believe, is very good for the Brazilian demographics, but it will take a while for either the network infrastructure to catch up, or for us to get our logic to be good enough to work under very poor network conditions.
How about your monthly active users? Are they higher in the United States versus European countries?
Mm-hmm. So we generally don't use monthly active users. I think we're one of the first companies to use daily active users because we're a communication platform. If someone opens the app once a month, it doesn't matter because that's not communicating, right? Like you're just opening the app to see what's in there. Maybe you play around with it and you close it. So we care a lot about users who come to our app every day, and we use DAU. I think our latest reported number was 218 million daily active users. So that's every day 218 million people use Snapchat. That number was up by over 30 million in last year alone, and we hope that this year will grow even faster. So we're excited about like our recent growth. In the United States is our strongest country. It's our biggest country. I think we are part of the culture here, and people really enjoy using Snapchat, and they know Snapchat. If you just take the percentage of the population that uses Snapchat, though, United States is not our strongest country. Saudi Arabia and Norway are two countries where Snapchat are very, very, it's like, part of popular culture there. We are also really strong in a lot of European countries, especially the ones that have really good network infrastructure. So I mentioned Norway, but also UK, all the Scandinavian countries. We're very popular in France, and so forth, right? And we are like, we're happy to grow internationally. We don't have favorite countries. We don't pick a country and say, okay, we're gonna go there now. we just try to make our product work well for as many users as possible, and and we believe that as the app becomes more accessible, either because people upgraded their devices, or we made it work better on their devices, or they upgraded their data plan, or we made it work better on their data plan, that will just get more users naturally that way.
Gustavo, tell us a little bit about augmented reality features. Are you working with in partnership with Google and Apple to deliver this technology?
Mm-hmm. So I think Snap was one of the first apps to make AR really popular, right? We have all these cool visual effects that you can use that will turn your face into a potato, or give you bunny ears, or like many funny effects like that. I think what's
Can you do it here in Zoom?
I can. Let's see.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
show us.
yeah. So you can. I think what's interesting about how Snapchat uses AR is that we use it for communicating, right? I think when AR first started, a lot of what people did was they were using it in a way that was meant to like be fancy and high tech, right? Like you point your phone at a building and you say the name of the building or measure the height of the building. But Snapchat realized that, hey, this is very powerful for boosting communication. So we'll do things like, if it's the final of the Super Bowl, or like we'll give you a microphone and pretend you're a newscaster and say, hey, can you give us a play-by-play of how the game's gonna go? Or if people just woke up and their hair is not right, and they don't really feel like putting a camera in front of them, we'll have effects that will make them look pretty, so that it will remove the inhibition for communicating, right? Or maybe like if you look like a potato, you don't care that your hair doesn't look good. So we really try to use it as a way to
I think I should use these features more often.
Yeah, so you can, and it removes inhibition. And by removing inhibition, we make people communicate, right? And if your friend is sending you a video, even if they look like a cat or something, like, you're gonna appreciate it, and it's gonna be more personal than if they're just sending you a voice message, right? So it's I think something that we care deeply about. We believe that AR is going to be more and more important in the future, and something that we invest very heavily on. And you asked about Google and Apple. I think that one thing that's very important about AR is that it is not easy, right? Like when people started doing this, they use very complicated machine learning algorithms that run on very powerful computers. And we want to run it on your phone, right? We don't want you to have to upload your video somewhere and then come back, an hour later and you have something ready. We want you to do it in real time. So we work a lot, not only with Apple and Google, but also with all of the manufacturers like Samsung, Huawei, and so forth, to make sure that their devices are powerful enough to perform what we want to perform. And when the new device comes up, we do a bunch of benchmarks to figure out, okay, what is this capable of? And what can we enable here?
Mm-hmm. Gustavo, we are receiving we received questions both by email from our community, and as well as we encourage everyone in this chat now to write their questions. And we got one from our colleague Elaine Stato. How has privacy policies adapted as the app reaches more and more people around the world?
Yeah. Hi, Elaine. How are you? So I think we started with a very privacy-focused app from the start. So Snapchat innovated in a lot of ways in privacy. First off, all of our communication is one-on-one. You can post your story and then everyone can see it. But for the most part, how people use the app is they will send messages directly to someone else. And we don't have a wall where you can post a photo and everyone can comment and you can see what everyone else is commenting. If you send a snap to many people and they all reply, each reply is a separate conversation, right? So I think we were very innovative in how we did that. We were the first to have ephemeral messaging, where all the content that you post on Snap will go away. either immediately if you choose to, or if you post your story after 24 hours. There's no record of what you do online, no record that's publicly available. If you contribute something publicly, for instance, if you take a snap of some important event and you post it for the world to see, we hide your name so that people can trace that back to you in any way. So we take a lot of care of privacy. When the GDPR rules were first introduced, we were ready for them, and we appreciated the spirit of them, right? We give users full control of their content. I don't think we've had to update our privacy policy much to account for the growth of our product. Of course, as the product becomes more complex and we're doing things that we didn't do before, right? Like now we have a map where we'll show your friends where you are if you allow us. We've had to, of course, change the privacy policies to account for that, but everything is still done in a way that preserves privacy, right? So, for instance, on our Snap map, when you show your friends where you are, you have to pick one by one which friends you want to see it. It's not something where you start broadcasting your location to the whole world. Your location is only shared when you have the app open, so people can track you, as you move around the world. So everything we do is very, we always take privacy into account, because I think, I mentioned young users and how they grew into a different world. Young users do not appreciate having the history of their life online, right? Like, usually when a kid becomes 13 and 14, they start using computers and they realize that their parents had been posting, photos of them to Facebook all their lives. They don't like that, right? Like that's not something, that's like a violation of their privacy. So we try to be in sync with our demographics, with our user base, and we try to respect their privacy as well.
Gustavo, another question from our network. How significant are games in the Snap growth roadmap?
That's a great question. So games at Snapchat is something quite new. We launched it only last year. And we have a lot of small games now, and they're really fun to play. I think that we see games as like part of our overall strategy of bringing friends and family together, right? So game night is something that's really cool. Like if you're next to your friends playing a video game, or you're next to your family playing a board game or a video game, that can be quite fun. So we're trying to capture that experience. So our games are made in a way where it's very easy to play with other people, right? Like you're chatting, and from the chat screen, you have a button you play, and you're suddenly in a game, and other people can join and play with you. So they're meant for playing together more so than playing by yourself. During the game, you can chat, you can do a voice call. Unfortunately, you can't use all of the face filters yet because we haven't figured out how to do video at the same time. But it makes it feel like you're playing right next to each other, and that's the moment what we're trying to capture, right? So games are, we're really happy with the growth of games. We're really happy with how people are playing and enjoying them, and a lot of people have their favorite game that they really like playing. But it just fits into the overall product vision of bringing people together.
Gustavo, talking about this moment that we are in, this crisis generated by the coronavirus spread, tell us about the initiatives that Snap has put in place to raise awareness on prevention, for example.
Right. So I think one of the very first things we did is we made it so that a lot of the creative tools you can use on our app, like the face filters or the stickers, had something about awareness, right? So we have a very popular sticker that basically, so we have something in Snapchat called Bitmoji, which is your avatar. And so we make a lot of stickers out of those Bitmoji. So we launched 3. One says, wash your hands. The other said, stay at home if you're sick, because at the time that was the recommendation, right? Stay at home if you're sick, and not always. And the last one was, don't touch your face, and like it has your hands like this. Those stickers were very popular. They're shared very widely, and it helped bring awareness, right? So I think that was the very first thing we did. Then we started to bring content. We partner with a lot of news agencies like CNN and NBC, and we started to bring content so that people understand what's happening in China, what's happening in Italy, what are doctors recommending, right? Like just giving them straight news. We also launched a portal for mental health, so that people are feeling alone, depressed, like they have resources there as well in the app, where they can get more information, they can get help if they need.
And tell us how this crisis is impacting the companies.
But I understand. I got your question. So we kind of saw this coming in stages, right? We have offices in China, and those are the first to close. Initially we asked people who were flying from China or other countries affected to self-quarantine for 14 days. But then things started spreading in the United States. I think the first office where we asked people to work from home was our Seattle office. They've been at it for, I think, almost a month now. Next were the Bay Area offices, both Mountain View and San Francisco, and finally LA, and then New York. So it kind of happened in stages, right? Because we saw it coming, we're able to prepare for it. So we very quickly put together policies that would allow people to take their desktops home, take monitors home. Some people even took chairs if they didn't have, like a comfortable chair to use at home. We're onboarding people now who we hired, where we send them, we ship them a laptop and give them instructions on how to onboard. Right, like luckily being a distributed company where almost every team had to deal with multiple offices, we're somewhat used to like doing VCs and using Slack to communicate. But it's definitely a challenge, and different people have different challenges. Though some have to care for kids like me, and then it's difficult to both work and homeschool your kids at the same time. Others don't have kids, but then
getting some work done, Gustavo.
I'm trying. I think I'm becoming a much better teacher. Maybe not as good as an engineer during this time. Some people don't have kids, but they have to fight with just being lonely and being bored and having nothing to do. And we try to do things to bring people together. Like sometimes we have a team meeting where we don't really talk about any technical stuff. We just talk to each other so that people can stay feel that human connection, right? I think all of us as employees are using Snapchat much more often now, and sending like even little tidbits of our day, right? Like, hey, my kids just wrote on the wall, and then everyone has a laugh and you kind of feel like you're connected. So it's definitely been challenging, but it's one that we're embracing, and we're trying to do the best we can.
Tell us a bit the employees' background at Snap. Where do they come from? Do you have other Brazilian colleagues there?
Yeah, people come from all over the world. I think just like our users, our engineers also skew a little younger, mostly because young people, they have used Snapchat in college and they're very excited to join the company. So we can hire a lot of great talent that way. But they come from everywhere. I work with people from Sweden, from India, from China, from Brazil, from Korea, like from Canada, and a lot of other countries. We have Brazilians working in our office in Mountain View, in LA, in Sydney, in London, in Seattle. Almost every office has a Brazilian. In New York. And I think I love working with Brazilians. I think we do quite well at Snap because we're very communicative and very social and outgoing. So like we kind of get the product and what it's trying to do. But yeah, we have hopefully one day we'll have a Brazilian office, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
And what are some of the positions that you are looking to fill right now, Gustavo?
So we're hiring for almost every position, but I have more knowledge of engineering. So for engineering, we're hiring software engineers for almost anything you can think of, backend, mobile, on Android, on iOS. If you know a lot about machine learning, we'd really like to hire you. If you have experience with ads, we'd really like to hire you. If you just like shipping products and you like being innovative and creative, like would like to hire you as well. So feel free to reach out to me, find me on LinkedIn if you want to learn more. But it's...
Are interviews going on right now during this situation, Gustavo?
Yeah, they are. I have an interview today at 5:30 p.m. Actually, we do fully remote interviews now, and usually, like on almost all of our interviews, you have someone dial in from a remote location because our company is just so distributed. But what we're doing now is all 4 people will dial in remotely. So.
Okay, and my last question, Gustavo, what is cool about being a director of engineering at Snap?
What's cool? It's a lot of work. I wouldn't say that's cool, but I think what's nice about, like, what I enjoy about being a director is that it doesn't become about you anymore. Like, my productivity matters so much less than the productivity of my team. So everything I do has to be to boost my team's productivity, right? And you need a lot of empathy. You need to understand what people are going through and like what moment they are in their careers and how you can help them. So I think that's really interesting. Like when I was growing up playing soccer, I was never the best player on the team, but I always tried to like bring the team together and like be a captain or like a coach or get everyone to like fill the role so the team could be good. And it kind of feels the same way. So like I really like working in a group and getting the group to be successful. So I think that's probably my favorite part.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Gustavo. This was fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Wish you much success. Obrigada. Beijo.